Hubbub, a chaotic din caused by a crowd of people.
This episode of the Hubbub podcast is sponsored by Evolve, the Pipedrive CRM experts, your trusted partner for the #1 easy-to-use and effective sales CRM, Pipedrive, helping you get started and maximise your CRM investment.
Hello and welcome to Season 7 of Hubbub, the Directors Hub podcast. I'm Faye Miller from Gingerbread World with my co-host Bruce Bignall from Evolve Pipedrive.
Hiya.
And today we are here with Amy Wonnacott from Lemon Drizzle. Hi Amy.
Hi.
How are you?
Yeah, I'm good, thank you.
Well, it's lovely to have you on the podcast. Having worked with you and got to know you a bit, it's really nice to be able to have a chance to chat about your story and how you got to where you did. So, I mean, I haven't explained lemon drizzle yet, so perhaps you'd like to tell us what lemon drizzle is, and then we'll go back and talk about how you got there in the first place.
Yeah, so Lemon Drizzle essentially is a social media management agency.
Yeah.
I look after social media platforms and build and grow social media platforms for varying industries, mostly in the wellness space, but I have some others from sort of other areas. But, you know, we're all about increasing visibility and building consistency and making sure that brands are getting the most out of their social media platforms.
Yeah. So, well, I know because you've done social media for me, so I know how utterly fantastic you are at it. But tell us a bit about how you got into it, because the backstory is quite interesting and what you were working on, where you were working before and everything. So talk us through that a bit.
So I started in hospitality, and then I sort of moved away from like the front of house hospitality into like back of house hospitality into sales and marketing. And I came up through the club system, like the Prisms and all that kind of stuff, like doing all of their sales and marketing. And then when COVID hit, obviously hospitality was like nil.
Yeah.
So I ended up living in Somerset for a few years over the pandemic, and I worked for like a high-end interiors company doing trade sales, which was a little bit different, but it was a lovely little company and it taught me a lot, so that was fun. And then afterwards I moved back to Brighton, and I was the area sales and marketing manager for a pub company. And I was made redundant from that. And then I was at the Brighton I360 doing sales and marketing, and I was made redundant from that. And then I realised that, you know, I had all of these skills that I felt like wasn't being utilised. I was potentially having to take a job that wasn't what I was used to, that was like maybe a little bit different. So I decided to go out on my own. And that's where I sort of started. As I started Lemon Drizzle and being like self-employed in the sort of marketing scene.
Yeah. And was that something that was always on your roadmap, do you think? Or
yeah.
did someone press you and say, actually, this is the time now?
So I always knew that I wanted to do something myself. I as much as I've had some really lovely jobs, really lovely managers, really lovely colleagues, it never felt right. I always felt like I should be doing more and I should be creating something for myself. Like when I was younger, I never really considered myself creative. Yeah. I considered myself academic, but actually I realised that I do have a lot of creativity, and I just felt like it was being stifled when I was working in employment. And I think, it was natural. It was a natural move to sort of go out on my own, and I always knew that I wanted to do it.
So the redundancy from the i360 was kind of almost fate intervening and saying now's the time to go and...
Yeah, absolutely. And I think I was already I know obviously everyone sort of knows the story of the i360 and how we went into administration and then there was a gap. Yeah. And when that happened, I knew that it wasn't going to last, even though they were kind of telling us it was going to last. We all knew it wasn't going to last. So I started Lemon Drizzle in the November, and I was doing it alongside work and building up. So by the time I was made redundant, I already had 3 clients. Yeah. And I knew then that I could keep going over the next period because I'd already built it up, and I'm so grateful to myself that I did that. Otherwise, that Christmas would have been really dire. Yeah. I felt like I was in good stead. I knew what I was doing, and I just said, right, this is the time.
Yeah.
So.
And why lemon drizzle? Tell us about the philosophy behind the name, because that's what caught my attention when you first got in touch with me. It's like, oh, cake.
Cake, absolutely. But that's the point. Like, I wanted something that was, because I could have just used my name. Like, a lot of social media managers, a lot of VAs, like, use their name. But I didn't want to be like that. I wanted to be different. And because originally the plan was to do hospitality marketing, like social media for hospitality venues, I wanted something that was maybe a little bit more, you know, tongue-in-cheek, like a little bit gimmicky. And I was having coffee with my friend, and I said, I don't know what to call myself. And she was like, well, you don't just want to be your name, like, you know. And then we were sort of sitting there, and she was like, what's your favourite cake? And I was like, lemon drizzle. And she was like, exactly. There you go. There you go. Why don't you call yourself that? And then you could make it about, like, you know, you're making social media a piece of cake. And I was like, wow. So thanks, Steph.
And the services are all kind of based on those, you know, cake.
Yeah. I mean, it was such an easy, like, you know, okay, this is how I make it different. Like, when I sat down with my business coaches in the February and we fleshed out my packages for real, and we were sort of like, well, they're going to have to be cake based, like Victoria sponge, cherry on top, icing on the cake. Like, it's relevant.
So you had a coach from the February, but you started in the November.
Yeah.
So that period, you said you had 3 clients. Mm-hmm. What then made you find a coach, and what was the... Is that friends again, or is that you saying, actually, I can do more here? Yeah,
I think there was, I definitely felt like things were moving really fast, and I was sort of needed to flesh out more my offering, because it was a little bit all over the place, and I was very new to business and like to self-employment, and I was like, I have no idea what I'm doing, and I think that having those coaches for the few months that I did really helped me flesh out all of my packaging, helped me sort out all my systems, like, you know, all that kind of stuff, like how to invoice, how to do all of that stuff, so that it was manageable for me. So yeah.
What's the most surprising thing that some that might be taking that step into, you know, running their own business now, that you had from being employed to then going on your own? What's the most surprising thing in that first 6-month period?
Probably the amount of people that think that I'm doing nothing. Like, I think it's like, because like obviously no, like, because it's like employment is like very, very different. Like, you know, it's very regimented. Like your hours are set. You have a set lunch hour. You have to, you know, if you have to make up the time, if you have a doctor's appointment, you have to do all of that stuff. Whereas like, it's getting out of that employee mindset was really hard, because I still beat myself up if I'm like, oh, I'm like, you know, I should be doing something now, when actually I can set my own hours. And so because of that, I'll be like, right, well, I'll schedule a haircut for Thursday when I've got a free afternoon, and then I'll work afterwards. But then, you know, I've got friends who are like, what are you, like, you're literally going for lunch like every day, like, what are you doing? But actually, like, you know, opening that up as well, and like networking and things like that, like, you know, the social aspect is really important.
Well, to be fair, I mean, I see your posts online all the time, and you're like, oh, look at this lunch, lovely lunch, but it's always in the context of networking and with clients or catch-ups. It's not, they might be lunches, but they're working lunches, aren't they?
Oh, 100%. Nothing is ever, like, no lunch is ever unimportant. Like, you know, I was with my colleague Danny, who works in the same studio as me. I was with her on Monday, and we were having lunch, but we were organising a workshop for September. So it was like, you know, it was getting away from a space and then having the space to be creative somewhere that isn't like sitting at your desk or in a meeting room. It's getting out there and you know, but so yeah, every meeting is important, every lunch is important, every breakfast is important.
Did you learn that yourself, or did you see that in someone else before you became a business owner?
I think I learned, so because of the areas that I've been in, like sales and marketing, I had done some networking before, so I had kind of seen it. But going on my own, I had to kind of learn that myself. I had to kind of realise like where, you know, to spend my time, where I was best suited, like sort of how it works for me. So yeah, I think that was something I sort of learned, and it is like a massive learning curve. Like I've never experienced anything like the last 6 months, so...
And how has networking helped your business? Because you are a prolific networker. And you're at all these events, which I'm always so impressed at, that you go to all these events and meet people. But it must have helped to give you exposure to help grow your business, basically.
I wouldn't be where I am today without networking. Like in the first 3 months, sort of 2-3 months, I networked like hell. I was like, every week I was doing something at least like 4 days out of that week. I was like, you know, getting on board with things. I was going to events I wouldn't usually go to. I was just really pushing the boat out, and I would not be in this position in just a short amount of time without that, because then after sort of the 4th month, where I'd kind of scaled it back a bit, but all the fruits of like going out there and getting to know people and like building those relationships have like come back now. And I've got like an amazing friendship group within the networking community that have been absolutely amazing throughout the entire journey, and I wouldn't have had that if I hadn't have gone out and put myself out there.
So where is Lemon Drizzle going now? What's, because I suppose you're coming up for, this will be your first full year of business, won't it? Have you got any plans for the first anniversary, and where are you going after that, basically? Where do you want to take it, I mean? Yeah,
so obviously the first year I'm going to do a little like sort of first year campaign, I think. So that's sort of in the works. And then the plan is to, because I'm getting really busy, and the plan is to hire someone by the end of the year, like probably December time. Someone part-time, most likely, like for a couple of days in the week to handle kind of the smaller accounts, and then I'll keep going with like the bigger accounts. But the main goal is to get to a point where, you know, I can confidently have someone else half the time and then I can write on those days. That's always been the goal.
And when you say write, this is your other hobby, right? So
my other hobby, yes.
We found out just before recording that Amy's a published author.
Yeah. I mean, that was always something that I wanted to do as well. Like, whenever I'm asked, it's always something that I'm super, super proud of. One of the proudest moments of my life, I think, standing at my book launch with like my friends and family, and like, you know, they were so ecstatic, and like it was just fantastic. And you know, there's so many exciting things happening with the book as well over the next year that have been in talks, so that's really fun. I'm not really allowed to say too much about it now, but there's so much happening, and I'm just so grateful to have got to that stage. But I think it wouldn't have been published if I hadn't been made redundant the first time. Like, it lit a fire and I just got it finished.
So what can you tell us about the book? What can you tell us about the book that you have published then? Is it a work of fiction? And,
yes, so it's
ideas around...
It's a psychological thriller.
Okay.
I was always into horrors, so it's a psychological thriller. It's a bit of a mashup between like Hot Fuzz and Midsummer. Like, it's just a bit of it, because obviously I lived in Somerset, and we spent a lot of time in the tiny villages, and in Cornwall as well. Yeah. And it's set in a fictional village in Cornwall, which is just a little bit creepy. Yeah. Like, think kind of Wicker Man-esque. Wow. But it's it was really inspired by that idea of coming from somewhere, like, because I was in London before I came, went to Somerset, coming from a big city into somewhere where you don't really feel like you belong, and everyone is friends and they have that sort of close-knit group, and I was just very not like, I didn't feel like I belonged there, and that's what it's about, really. So writing was something that was always at the back of your mind, that you wanted to become an author then? Yeah, 100%. Like, I was always writing when I was younger. Like, I have old laptops with like stops and starts of books, and I had my first poem published in an anthology when I was 12, and I still have that at home. So writing is like, it's something very special to me. It was, like I said, I consider myself academic, and when I was doing English literature at school, I felt alive. It was great. So how did that come about? Did you sort of write the book, then go and find yourself an agent? Is that basically what you did? I mean, I was writing the book for a really long time, because I felt like, I was working full time alongside it. So I was writing in the evenings and on the weekends. And then I would do this thing where I'll get to like the middle and I'll be like, this is terrible. I can't finish this. Like, I'm putting it to the side. And then like a few months later, I'll feel that like inspiration again, and I'll be like, no, actually, I want to get it finished. And I was writing, and it wasn't like, it was for about 4 years, and it wasn't getting any further. And then when I was made redundant, I literally like would take myself every day to somewhere and sit down and just get it done. I got it edited. I did the whole thing. And then, it just kind of happened, and I had the most amazing feedback from publishers, most amazing feedback, and hearing that, it was like such validation that it was the right area, and you know, and I was supposed to write the next one within 6 months, but I haven't done that, so it's in the works.
So this one that's been launched, when is it actually out?
So it's already out.
It's out.
So it came out in February 2024.
Yeah.
You can buy it on Amazon or you can buy it from Waterstones.
Yeah.
But yeah, it's, you know, there's more sort of in talks about the book and sort of what's going to happen next with the book, which is called An Old Wives' Tale.
Yeah.
So that is like sort of moving in its own direction, and then I'm trying to write the next one.
So obviously, without sort of giving plot lines away and everything, but is the one you're trying to write? Is that a follow-on, or is it a standalone?
No, it's a standalone. It's in the same universe.
Yeah.
But it's not the same. It's not like a follow-up to what happened, because I think that the story for An Old Wives' Tale was very, like, it ended how it ended, and that is the full kind of story. But this one is like different, and they're all sort of An Old Wives' Tale is very fire based, like very demonic, very like, you know, pagan, whereas like this next one is a bit more poltergeisty.
Okay.
Yeah.
Wow, I better get onto Amazon and start ordering.
Feel free. An Old Wives' Tale.
Well, I've just finished the book that I was reading, which was by another local author, so I do like reading local authors. And
it's not too long. Like, when I was sort of reading before, I really hated books that were full of waffle.
Yeah.
Like, the story is the most exciting part.
Yeah.
Like, you know, so it's shorter because it gets into all the drama and stuff really early on. So
that is fantastic. It really is. Well,
Thank
good
you.
luck with it all in that respect.
Thank you so much.
And going back to the lemon drizzle and the social media side of things, you said that your clients, you know, you'd originally sort of thought about going down the hospitality route, and predominantly clients in that sphere. Has that been the case now, or have you picked up clients?
No, I've picked up Bruce over there. I've picked up other clients. So it was weird because obviously, Faye, you're one of my first.
Yes.
And then my other client, she won't mind me mentioning her. She'll love it, actually. But Hema from Reset and Rediscover was my other client. Yeah. And she started at around the same time. Yeah. So you two were my first two. And I'm still working with her. She's fantastic. She's been a massive supporter, and she literally just referred me out to she's a RTT hypnotherapist and coach, and she just referred me out to the rest of the wellness community. And then I ended up with lots of clients, like coaches, physiotherapists, PTs, you know, down that route, which was completely different to what I'd originally planned. But I absolutely love the wellness community in Brighton. Everyone is so lovely. And then this other branch kind of came in, and I ended up with like accountants and, you know, other bigger businesses that weren't anything to do with wellness, but they'd kind of heard, like, you know, about me and decided that it fit their brand as well. So
it's one of the best ways to grow in some respects, isn't it? That your word of mouth recommendation of people who are raving about your services and how
absolutely.
You get brands. But I mean, how does that translate because obviously you had an interest in hospitality, then you've got this sort of wellness side of things, and how does that translate to things that are perhaps not so visual or traditionally are seen as more sort of stage subjects, like accounting, for example? How do you find that? How do you translate that to social media so it stands out and it gets traction?
Yeah, I think the main, like, what's really good about those kind of businesses is the fact that, you know, the area that we're in, especially, like, everyone is very heavy in the community. Yeah. And it's fantastic to be able to showcase that. Like, you know, accounting isn't the most exciting subject in the world, but, like, you know, there are ways of sort of educating people, but also bringing in an element of, like, community. And, like, you know, it's not just about the business, it's about them behind it. It's about the owners, it's about the team. Yeah. And I think you have to kind of hit it from that angle. When the subject matter's not the most, like, visually aesthetically pleasing, you can hit it from that angle, and, you know, and then it builds up that level of trust. It builds up, you know, that interest in not just the brand and the business, but also in them.
Yeah, because it's all about telling stories at the end of the day, isn't it?
It
Rather
is,
than,
yeah.
You know, I always say this. It's like you take an accountancy firm and they want to do a press release on so-and-so's just become a partner in the firm. It's really boring
Yeah.
and no one cares except the person who's
No.
being the partner. So you've got
Yeah.
to find a way of telling it. So I guess part of your remit must be finding the creative angles on those things.
Absolutely. And we always, like with every single client, you know, I sit down and we look at strategy and we look at where those areas are, like, you know, where, what is sort of the, essentially, like Bruce calls them buckets, and now I really like that, so I've taken that on. I used to call them rungs, but I've taken that on because I really like buckets. But buckets of, like, you know, content, like where which subjects are you going to hit, which areas of expertise are you going to hit, what are you going to, you know. And I think it's so interesting for people who've never looked at it like that to sit down and look at it like that, because there is a strategy behind it.
And you have that kind of content ladder, like the building blocks, right? So.
Yeah, the building blocks, yeah. And I spoke about that a little bit at the Directors Hub conference, like this sort of idea of like the engagement ladder. So, you know, you bring people in from the bottom and then ultimately you take them up each rung of the ladder until you get to a stage where they want to buy from you and they want to work with you and they want to engage with you, you know. And that starts from the bottom of the ladder, which is literally seeing you somewhere because you've stayed consistent and you're visible, and they've seen you somewhere and then they just begin to trust you, and then they get like sort of bought in by you and your business and they become a super fan. So in talking more, because social media can be quite, I suppose it can be quite overwhelming for some people if that's not their sphere of expertise. You're running a business, you want to improve your engagement, you're following, ultimately get leads or sales and that, but it's sometimes I guess for people it's quite hard to know where to begin. There's different platforms to choose. What sort of, you know, different, you could sort of spend all your life doing everything, if you know, and then you'd actually not be working your business. How do you sort of nail it down with businesses as to what the best strategy is? What sort of process do you go through with them? So we start by looking at like your like the goals and the target audience, because like you said, there's so many platforms out there. Like, where do you begin? And I always say choose two. And focus your efforts on those, and then if they grow to a good point, you know, we can start cross-posting to other platforms. But I think it's all about where your clients hang out. Like, you know, where are they most active? Where do they engage the most? Like, you know, if you're you know, like obviously your business phase is quite visual. So, you know, your clients are going to be on places like Instagram because they want to see the work. You know, and TikTok, again, like, you know, they're interested in seeing these things. It's a very visual platform. I think it's it's all about finding out where is the best place and then looking at how the strategy works on those platforms with those clients, and then building that essentially a blueprint of how those work.
And in terms of, sometimes there's a social media, people think they have to always share everything publicly, and so how do you communicate that with, or have you got a framework? 'Cause obviously you've shared some things before, quite personal, online. So where is that, and is that boundary different for everyone and for businesses?
I guess it's up to, it's all about like being comfortable in what you're sharing, and I think there's a limit between like getting, like, because some people don't want to share. Like, I've got clients who really don't want to like put their face on it too much, but they will like a little bit, but they don't want to overshare. Whereas, you know, I'm quite an open book. I'll go on there and talk about all sorts of things, and like, you know, because I find kind of it's like a journal almost. But I think there's a line between sharing everything and then like sharing enough that people trust you and engage with you. And I think it's all about what you're comfortable doing, and it's all about what my clients are comfortable doing. And like, you know, we can make it work regardless. Like, we can do a little or we can do a lot. But you know, you don't have to share everything. But I think like sharing something like humanizes you a little bit. You know, makes people trust you.
I think it does. I also think it depends on the platform as well, because some platforms lend themselves more to that more open, personalised content than some of the others. And then there's a danger that you get, like, if you post about, you know, what you've had for breakfast on LinkedIn. I haven't seen that for a long time, but people have done. It's like, what is the purpose of...
Yeah, I think like with places like LinkedIn, like I get this question all the time about like, you know, because some people hate seeing personal posts on LinkedIn.
Some people get quite wound up by it.
Yeah,
don't they?
and some people love seeing them. So I think it's all about who your audience is, really. Because like, you know, I love sharing networking events that I've been to.
Yeah.
You know, when my cat passed away, like I shared something, but he was a massive part of my marketing, so it felt like it was the right thing to do.
Yeah.
But I think, you know, other people can relate to it, like the amount of engagement I had on that post, you know, and it just felt like, you know, more people were relating to it than not relating to it. And I think it's all about your comfortability and where you sit with that.
Yeah.
But like, you know, LinkedIn is great as well for commenting on social matters that are going on, like in the news and things at the moment. Like I did a post the other day about the Online Safety Act and things like that. So that's just come into practice. And I think that, you know, it's a good place to talk about those kind of things because you've got other people in similar industries who also...
And I guess not being afraid if someone disagrees with you online.
Absolutely.
Right? But just have an opinion.
Yeah, it's all about the, you know, you've got the lovers and you've got the haters, you know. But, like, it's good to have haters. It means that you're getting, you know, you're causing a stir, you're getting the engagement.
There is that argument, isn't there, that if you're not getting any comments, you're not, you might be polarising, but at least you're generating interest in one way or another.
Yeah, and I think it's good to start debate sometimes. I think, you know, that increases the engagement. You know, you're asking people for their opinion and people love giving it, and, you know, and then it creates an open dialogue.
Have you ever had, like, either yourself or your clients, have you ever had any, like, proper trolling going on and if so, how do you deal with it? How do you deal with some, because I have seen, you know, people that have got quite big platforms in Instagram, and sometimes some of the things that commenters put, it's just outrageous.
Sometimes I go straight to the comments just to
see
I know, me
what
too.
people say.
Yeah, me too.
This is an interesting post. Straight to the comments.
Yeah, TikTok is great for that because I think, you know, some of it I don't understand. I feel like I've almost been like pushed out of the demographic, but I'm still like so in it. It's weird. But like I none of my clients have had any hate comments. I've had a couple on my own TikTok. Like I made a reel. I went to Berlin in February with my friends and it was her birthday, and I was sort of playing around with it, and I made this reel about Berlin, and this guy like got really irate and was like, it looks terrible, like why would you go to Berlin, it looks awful. And I was like, this is crazy, like I don't know why you felt the need to tell me that. You could have just thought about it and like not said anything. But I think that's the danger with social media, is people are behind a screen, so they feel that they can, you know,
stuff they would never normally say to you in real life, they're quite happy to say because they've got that shield, if you like.
And I've seen it a lot. Like there's this whole idea of like, you know, cancel culture, and I've seen like, you know, it happened to some businesses where they've done something by mistake and it's just been like dragged, you know, and it's really, really harmed their business. So I think there's always that in the back of my mind is, you know, how is this going to come across? You know, what type of audience is this going to attract? Like, is this, you know, because you do have to think about this stuff. It is really, really important.
Yeah, I suppose it does. It can really, as you say, it can really damage people if they and it sometimes, as you say, it's inadvertent. It's not even an intentional thing, but somebody takes it the wrong way, and that brings me on to the next point, which is I know there are certain big businesses, as we've talked about this before, Lush, who'd come off social media on the basis that they weren't going to go back on until it was a safe space for everyone, and that's great for them because they're big, they've got hundreds of shops everywhere, they have the power to do that, but a lot of smaller businesses don't. So it's hard. I think it's hard for some businesses to manage that.
Absolutely.
I suppose.
Yeah, 100%. I mean, like when I did my webinar on this, I was saying that they're still using elements of online. They're still using their email marketing list. They're still using all of that stuff because they have, and also they have bricks and mortar shops.
Yes.
Whereas, like, you know, if you're a coach, like, you don't have anything that people are going to walk past, and you know, so it is your storefront. Yeah.
And these days, Yellow Pages does exist, but it's about 2 pages thick these days, isn't it?
Yeah.
If you're not on social media or you don't have a website, where do you go anywhere to find?
Yeah, it's a sales. It's you know, it's all about showcasing yourself and it's your 24/7 salesperson. People vet these days by going on TikTok, by going on Instagram, by going on Facebook and checking businesses out. Because if you've got an Instagram and you've got loads of negative comments on it and it's not really people are going to be turned off by that straight away.
So where do you see social media evolving? I mean, I know that the pace of change with technology, it's transformed hugely in the last 25 years, from no internet and no social media to everybody being on it, and then we've got AI coming in now. Where do you see it going in the next, say, 5 years and 10 years? How do you think it would evolve, especially for businesses as well?
It's going to look, obviously, with the involvement of AI, it wouldn't be social media if I didn't mention that, because it's going to change things a lot. I think we're going to see more regulation. Like the Online Safety Act was passed really quickly, it came into effect, I think it was literally last week. And I think that is an effort to protect our children from seeing things that they shouldn't, but it's also harming some other industries. So I think that it will just continue like that. I think there'll be more regulation around AI, because at the moment, we were looking at something yesterday and I couldn't tell whether it was AI or not. And I think that there'll be more you have to label it, it has to be said. I think there'll be more regulation around AI. And I think platforms like Facebook will start to die out. And I think everything will move over to platforms like TikTok. And Instagram, because Instagram are keeping up with this sort of reels and idea that's similar to TikTok. I think that those platforms will boom.
Why do you think Facebook would die out of interest?
It's just not being used by the younger generation. No, I used it when I was 18. It was the big thing. But Instagram I think Meta have focused their efforts on Instagram a little bit more to make it more appealing to the younger generation, with reels, with stories, with all that kind of stuff, whereas Facebook doesn't really, it's behind. People only really use Facebook for the groups that they provide. I don't see it as much anymore. A lot of clients that I have that do want paid content won't want Facebook ads. They'll want Instagram, TikTok or LinkedIn.
I suppose these things do evolve, actually, because I was talking about it with my husband the other day, and we were saying, whatever happened to Friends Reunited? Do you remember that? Because at one point that was massive, wasn't it? It was absolutely massive. So of course we went online and Googled it, and it was originally sold to ITV for 125 million.
Whoa.
And then about 5 years later it was sold for 25 million, because the interest in it had slowly dropped. And eventually a year later they valued it at 5 million. A couple of years later it closed down altogether because people just weren't using it anymore. They'd shifted up. I suppose Facebook had taken over and stuff. But,
well, it's there was a whole what damaged Facebook as well was this idea of a while ago, the data and how they were using our data and how they were getting our data, and I think that was very harming. I think a lot of the younger generation now who are using social media are more aware of these things and more aware of what's going on and how their data's being used, and there's a lot more privacy than there used to be.
I suppose, I know I've noticed my daughter, who's 19, going on Facebook. I don't know why she's got a profile on there, because you don't use Facebook. But I don't know, she's using it a bit, and some of her friends are using it as well. Maybe there'll be a bit of a renaissance, I don't know. But she is predominantly TikTok and Snapchat with her mates and stuff like that, I think.
Snapchat's a big one as well. It just ended up that way.
Yeah, but on the AI content, I think there will be a rise of people wanting the human touch, and so that's where the social media, so the brand, sharing your actual personal story, your struggles. I think it was just 2 weeks ago, Google, who owns YouTube, have started to demonetize AI faceless accounts.
Yes.
So I think they've labelled it synthetic content. So
that's right.
If the biggest, YouTube's the biggest video content creator, if they're banning AI generated content from demonetizing, that's a huge indication. If you fast forward, what does that then mean? Yeah,
definitely. No, I agree with you. That's why I'm not too worried. Because I had a client actually who was using an AI, an agency who used AI very heavily, and they came to me and they said we miss the human touch behind it. We need someone with who can generate content, but by adding that spark. That
Yeah.
It doesn't mean you're not leveraging AI.
No, but you can use it to enhance what you're doing. But using it fully, I think, is where the sort of lines blur. But I think I always use it to do things like SEO research and keyword research and all that kind of stuff that really helps me. But I love like doing all the copy myself.
Well, that's using it in a sensible way, isn't it? I suppose, because you're using it to speed up. Because if you were doing the keyword research, otherwise it would take a lot longer.
Oh, 100%.
And you'd have to go for where it can pull that information in seconds for you.
Yeah, it's changed the game. Yeah.
So that's just using it as an additional tool, isn't it? As opposed to letting it take over. But I think predominantly humans, we are social creatures. We like socialising. We like mixing. We like that human connection. And AI, if you let it do everything, then you remove that.
Yeah, you take that
social
away.
Connection. Yeah. Although having said that, I did overhear a conversation. I can't remember where I was the other day. This young girl. I know I wasn't eavesdropping that much. She was talking really loudly, but she was saying how she was using like ChatGPT as kind of an AI counsellor and stuff. So he was just asking it questions, her, and it was like giving her advice and stuff. Yeah. And she said, I was sobbing my eyes out to ChatGPT the other day, and I was like, blimey, wow,
that has changed it. That's
that is a huge booming market at the moment, but you have to be really careful.
Yeah.
If you have your, it's just come out this week where your chats, if they're labelled as public, are now searchable and indexed by Google.
Wow.
Yeah, they've also said that they can use any and all chat transcripts in a court of law.
Oh, okay. So
not that anyone should be doing anything untoward on chat, but it can be if you were sort of pouring your heart out to chat, and then they could use that as evidence.
Everything, whether you're free or whether you're paid for, then it's all subject. Yeah, it could all be used in evidence. Fair enough.
Yeah, it can be. Yeah.
So if you're pouring your heart out to chat about murdering your partner, confessing
just
to
avoid
chat,
that altogether. I would say. Yeah.
So going back to businesses using social media, I mean, if you had like some top advice, what would be your, if they do one thing, business, take for example businesses don't do much on social media. If you had one bit of advice to them, what would it be to sort of get on board with social media, or how could they best leverage it for their business?
Stay consistent.
Yeah.
Like, it's all well and good, like, posting. Like, I think that you should always aim to post consistently at least twice a week.
Yeah.
Like, posting once every 6 months is not gonna make absolutely any difference. But I think it's all about being consistent, and the platforms will reward you for using them how they're supposed to be used.
Yeah. And the other thing I was going to sort of ask you about very quickly was, sort of followers versus sort of, because some people, some people have hundreds of thousands of followers.
Yeah.
Does it make a difference if people have? I mean, obviously they're going to have more reach, but can businesses still be successful with less followers? And
absolutely.
Just a small following, if it's a well crafted following, I should say.
Yeah, 100%. I think having followers doesn't mean that they're going to convert.
Yeah.
I think you can have less followers that are really loyal to you and use your business, or you could have 100,000 and some of them are either bots or they're not really, they're just kind of following you but don't engage with anything. I think it's all about the content that you're putting out, and it's all about building up that little, fan base posse that love what you do and respect what you do and engage with you. Yeah. And
one final thing from me really is, when you look back on the last, 10 months? 9 months?
10 months now.
Could you imagine back in November last year when you were launching that you'd be where you are now?
No, I'm so grateful to be where I am now. Like, I never thought I'd have a studio space. I never thought it just absolutely catapulted, and I am so grateful. But like, I don't know if I can do a shout out, but I wouldn't be where I am now without Maribel Coles from Coles BDS. Like, she picked me up off the floor and like just launched me into this world of networking, and she continues to say my name in every single room, and I just want to thank her, because I wouldn't be here after 10 months without her. So
that's lovely. Well done, Maribel. She amazes me actually, because
she's great.
She's not only is she networking all the time, she's networking for other people as well.
I know, it's incredible. It really is. But she's also a show of, like, she's doing exceptionally well at the moment, and she's also a show of what, like, networking and hard work can do. So I'm really grateful.
That's wonderful. Well, that's it from me, and we're coming to the end of this show now. And any more questions from you, Bruce?
No, it's just inspiring. Continue to hear your story.
Thank you.
And I'd like to see where it goes next.
Thanks so much.
And good luck with the next book.
Thank you.
Thanks for coming on, Amy. It's been lovely having you.
Oh, thanks for having me. Thank you.
Hubbub, a chaotic din caused by a crowd of people.